Story 43.
Ling goes to China.
Words we know.
Caught, caused, because, careful, boy, toy, sometimes, thought, brought, thousand, complain, sounded, although, otherwise, goodbye, enough, people, other, wouldn't, couldn't, shouldn't. Understand, American, electric. Meanwhile, noticed, tomorrow. Everybody, something, everything.
New sounds.
Air, as in care. Oi, as in boy.
Special words.
Deciding. Curious. Sydney. Nothing. Source. China. Chinese. Moving. Ling goes to China. Floyd and Claire Doyle lived in Sydney. Next door lived their friend Ling. Ling had been in Australia for only 2 years. She came from China. The Doyles knew that sometimes, when there was nothing much to do, Ling felt sad. "Oh dear," Ling sighed sometimes. "If only I could see my mother and father and Nana and Grandpa and all my friends in China." The Doyles had seen Ling cry too, when she thought of her friends who were far away. Ling was working hard to save the money for a plane ticket to China. The fare was $1,000. The thought of seeing her old friends made her happy. Sometimes she would start singing a happy Chinese song. But when she thought how long it would take to get the fare, she would stop singing and go quiet. Floyd, Claire and Ling spent many evenings together. Ling would show Claire how to make Chinese toys. It was rare for Ling to complain. She always tried to be careful not to annoy people, although the Doyles didn't mind if she told them how she felt. Ling and Floyd would share their ideas about cooking. After about 4 months, the Doyles' kitchen shelf had soy sauce, black bean sauce, oyster sauce, and chili sauce. Floyd had to be careful to use only a little chili sauce, because otherwise it was too hot for Claire. One sunny spring morning, Claire and Floyd were deciding what to do for the day, when a loud banging sounded on their door. Floyd jumped up to open it. There was Ling, hopping about and waving a letter in the air. "I can go! I can go!" she squealed. At first, the Doyles didn't realize what she was talking about. The good news was that Ling's uncle had paid the fare and sent the ticket. She could go to China for a holiday and then, later, come back to Australia. Ling couldn't stop smiling and jumping up and down. In fact, she was so excited that it rubbed off on the Doyles. They cared about Ling and they felt just as pleased as she did. The Doyles went to Sydney Airport to wave Ling goodbye. But it felt really strange. Ling now looked sad. What was there to say? Claire and Floyd felt like crying too. They all had to say goodbye and they didn't want to. The three of them joined together in one big hug. It felt wonderful. It was hard for them to understand their feelings. The Doyles knew they were happy for Ling to go, because she had wanted to go for so long. But they didn't want to lose her. It seemed ages before Ling was called to her plane. They all hated the waiting. After a long time, Ling went off. The door closed. The Doyles just stared for a while. Meanwhile, Ling was sitting in the plane, just staring at the seat in front of her. After about 20 minutes, Ling started to look around her. She was curious about the other passengers. Some were tall, some were short, some were fat, some were thin. Some passengers were old, some were young, some were Chinese, some were American. She began to wonder where everybody was going, and why. Were all these people feeling happy or sad? Or didn't they know what they were feeling, just like her? Only 20 minutes later, Ling began to enjoy the plane trip. Her sad feelings were going away, and she was smiling. She snuggled into the seat and happily thought about all the friends and family she would soon see again. Even Claire and Floyd had cheered up by now. They had seen a fun park on the way back from Sydney Airport. They were having a ride on the electric octopus. "Let's send Ling a text tomorrow," yelled Claire across to Floyd. Floyd smiled. He thought that was a great idea. As they drove home, Claire remarked to Floyd, "Isn't it amazing how quickly feelings can change?"
Words we've used.
Sydney, deciding, face, curious, nothing, source, China, Chinese, moving, group, although, brought, country, half, trouble, father, mother, other.
Some new words.
Dare, mare, rare, scarce, share, spare, annoy, enjoy, employ.